and welcome to My Fit Money. I am your host, Randy Major, and joining me today from Mathies Financial Partners is founder and CEO, Jeff Mathies. Welcome back, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to be here again with you. You know, I've really gotten to know you over the past 6 weeks. We've just having a lot of fun on the show together. So thanks for coming back and sitting with me and sharing all your knowledge with the viewers.
You bet.
So I want to get back to you, your approach, and I want to hear more about your team. Who else is working with you?
Well, we have a team of fiduciaries. We have a couple of different divisions, but the main division is a team of fiduciaries. And all of the advisors that work for us are Series 65 fiduciary advisors. And it's interesting when we talk about all these different numbers, Series 6, Series 7, 65. People don't know what that means.
Right.
Most of the time, the advisors that I meet have something called a 7 or a 6, and that's a brokerage license. And the advisors that are in my office now used to have those. And I don't allow brokers in my office. You have to be a fiduciary. So when they come in and said, "Hey, Jeff, we've heard a lot about what you're doing, and we'd like to have a conversation about that," they had to give up those licenses to come work here. And that is a big jump for people. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of time and money to get those licenses.
Yeah.
And when I say you have to give up all of that, go back through the process to get the fiduciary license, the only people who are going to do that are those that are really serious about helping families and doing the right thing for these families.
Yeah.
So I'm really blessed with the team that we have. They're all fiduciary advisors, and they're also all insurance licensed, so they know the lingo on everything on all areas of investing in different products.
That's
and
great.
we have offices in Denver, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo. So I'm excited that for people who think, well, maybe he's too far away from me, probably not. We've got fiduciaries all the way across, or all the way down the Front Range in Colorado right now.
All right. Well, that's wonderful. Good to hear about them. And, you know, I have your brochure here in front of me. You know, you give this to, all of your potential clients. And if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of ask you about what's in this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, first, what is the advantage? You've already mentioned, of course, that you're fiduciary advisors, and that's obviously so important, just so much more knowledge. What are some of the other advantages with working with you? What sets you apart from everybody else?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think I'd like to tell everybody the big difference between us and your typical firm is there's a couple different programs along with what we do as far as the investing and income planning that we help people with. And first of all, we have an in-house law firm. We have people that come in and they say, in addition to our financial planning, we don't have our wills done. We don't have power of attorneys done. We don't even know what a living will is or why people are asking us about that. And we have in-house counsel that will help our clients through that process as well. Yeah. And because it's not their primary source of income, usually it's a pretty good deal for them to use the counsel that we have available for them to get that work done.
That is very convenient.
Yeah, that's one piece. The other piece is we have a healthcare division. I can't know everything. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at. And what I'm not that great at is all the nuances that are continuing to take place and change inside of the Medicare system, the supplements, plans A, B, C, D, or parts A, B, C, D, and the Advantage plans. And I don't want to learn all that. I don't have time, I don't have the energy, I need to focus on what I'm good at. So I just hired a team who are already experts in that area to make sure everybody has the education they need and they can get the help they need in that area. And they're part of the team. That's all they do for us and our clients is Medicare and Medicare education, answering questions about supplements and Advantage plans, etc. One of those people is a registered nurse. There's no way I would be able to find this talent the way that I did. It just happened to work out this way. So there's a lot you can take advantage of by being a client at Mathies Financial Partners.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. You actually have experts in each area that you need to have a well-rounded
We pull them together when we need them.
retirement plan. That is so great. Really, truly a one-stop shop, if you will.
Yeah, I think so. We do a lot. It took a lot to put it together. We spent a substantial amount of time trying to figure out exactly what we wanted it to look like. And this, I think, is the winner for Colorado.
And how long have you been around?
I started my first financial firm in 2004. and I was just winging it, trying to figure out all the things. You remember how we got into this with, I was in insurance before, and people kept asking financial questions, and I kind of got drug into it. But I started in 2004. My first firm was 𝗀𝗃𝗄𝗃 Financial. That morphed into Colorado Retirement Resources, which morphed into the Estate and Elder Planning Center, and it was so much to try to deal with. I just brought them all together and created Mathies Financial Partners.
Wow.
So we could make sure that we were helping all areas of retirement and getting people to retirement, getting people through retirement, and then taking care of the family when that time comes for that. And so that's how we got to the point
well,
we're
congratulations. That is quite impressive, I must say.
Thank you.
So next is a question that I think is always on everyone's mind, and it might be one of those things that holds folks back from actually going out and seeking advice from a professional is, how do you get paid?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's one of the questions that we tell people, you need to ask advisors this question. And if they start dancing around how they get paid, you already have a problem. So that's a great question. As fiduciaries, there's two different ways we get paid. We work off of a fee-only platform when it comes to advisory services. So we have a set fee that we work with. We do not allow commissions on trades. That is a big no-no. We don't allow that in my office. Okay. So we get paid a set rate, and that is it for advisory services. There are also times when somebody might need a life insurance program or some sort of an income plan that pays a different way. What we do is we show the client, here's exactly how they're going to pay us, and we break that down so they know what the expectation is. And I think that it's critical that all advisors do that. Why hide it? Show your clients what you're getting paid.
Well, right. I mean, that's probably what makes people, hesitant, because they didn't have that experience.
Yeah. And too often in our industry, these advisors try to dance around the idea of, I don't want my client to know I'm getting a commission for this product. Mm-hmm. Why not? Yeah. Do they think you're doing it for free? Mm-hmm. Tell them what you're getting
Nobody
paid.
works for free. All right. So, and next I see here the list of services that you provide your clients. Now, you've mentioned a few of them, so let's go over that.
Okay.
So you have wealth management here, retirement planning, complete portfolio analysis, IRA, 401k, taxes.
Yeah.
You can do the tax planning.
Yeah, and what's interesting is there's a lot of different services that we provide. At the end of the day, the first thing you have to do to get that service is call. Set up a time and come see us and spend a little time with an advisor. People are so afraid to call advisors these days because I think they're on every single street corner. They're all over the place. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to call an advisor. Feel free to call us. We'll tell you anything you want to know.
Yeah. Well, this is the perfect time to, before we go to our commercial break, is to tell the viewers that are watching today about a very special offer you have for them.
We have an offer for the first 10 people that call in to set up a time with us. We are going to give you a complimentary MyFit portfolio review. What that does for you, it's a deep look into your current portfolio to show you exactly what you're paying in fees, what your long-term expected rate of return is, and how much risk you're taking to get that return. And if there's anything that we find that can be fixed or put you in a better position, we're going to share with you what that is. If you want us to help you with it, that's great. If you want to do it yourself, that's fine too. But you first have to call us at 844-234-3939, set up a time and come see us.
Thank you, Jeff. Folks, the phone lines are now open. We really do encourage you to take advantage of this offer today. Get your retirement plan fit and ready to live the retirement of your dreams. Such a wonderful opportunity. That number is on your screen. It's 844-234-3939. Again, that's 844-234-3939. We are going to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
And welcome back to My Fit Money. I'm your host, Randy Major, and I'm chatting today with Jeff Mathies, and he's from Mathies Financial Partners. Jeff, we're having a great show today, getting to know you. We just heard all about your team, and I'd like to, in this segment, if you could, just debunk some retirement myths, if you will.
You got it.
So I think the first one, we hear a lot about annuities, this word annuities, and I know it can be really broad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why do they get a bad rep?
I think the reason annuities get such a bad rap is for years, I don't necessarily think that the annuity itself is the problem. I think it's how it's been recommended to people. It gets a bad rap because I think it was inappropriately used in people's planning. We went through this cycle where all of these guys could quit their job, get a quick license, and start selling annuities to people, and they were selling these programs that made such huge commissions that they would just sell it to anybody who had the money to pay for it. Well, the rules are a little different today. The annuities are a little different today. There are 3 different types of annuities, and what I would say is an annuity is not a good fit for everybody.
Okay.
If you use it for the way it was designed to be used, it's fine. But what happens too often is these guys try to cram every single problem into an annuity solution, and then you end up with a client who is very unhappy about that.
Okay.
So ask a substantial amount of questions when it comes to annuities.
Okay.
Ask a lot of questions.
Yeah. All right. Next little myth, if you will. I have a will. I don't need a trust. Trusts are only for the super wealthy.
Got it. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting question. And here's what I would tell you. If you have a family that is perfect, where there's no arguing going on and you have nobody who's going to come after your stuff, in Colorado, probate's a pretty simple process, probably not that big of a deal. But if there is any point, or if you're not quite sure if it's going to go as smoothly as planned, you might want to consider some advanced estate planning. I would definitely suggest talking to an estate planning attorney. I mean, trusts can be wonderful tools to keep other people's hands out of the cookie jar when you pass away. Okay. Just remember that trusts, most of the trusts that are set up are revocable trusts, and when you pass away, that trust becomes irrevocable. And the only person who's going to be able to do anything with that is the trustee at the time. So there are some parts that become difficult. Trusts aren't necessarily the easiest tool to have when the person who set the trust up is not there to direct traffic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. All right. What about Medicare? I think there's a lot of folks just assume that Medicare is going to cover what life throws at them.
Yeah.
Later on.
I run into that a lot. We'll ask people, in the event you have a health scare and you have to go into a nursing home, what's your plan?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Medicare will take care of that, right, Jeff? No. So actually how that works is if you end up, let's say you fall down and hit your head or something, just something that's going to send you into a nursing home. Medicare covers up to 180 days. And that's if you're showing progress. But the minute you're not, or you get to that 180th day, they shut you down. And now they're going to start looking at your assets, and we call it the medical tax, where they're going to say, well, you don't have a way to cover this, so you're going to pay a medical tax until you get to a certain point. You have to start spending your assets down. And that's a big problem because, like we talked about before, people are on fixed incomes in retirement. There's not a lot of disposable cash set aside in most cases for this. So if you go into a scenario like that and you start spending down your assets and then you die, what happens to your spouse?
Yeah.
Is your spouse going to be left destitute? You die, you spent down the assets, now she's got half the income?
That's a problem.
It's a problem. So Medicare is not going to cover that stuff.
Okay, good to know, good to know. Now, what if something happens to me? My spouse will need a lot less income when I'm gone, right?
Yeah, right. That's never the case. That's never the case.
And why? Why is it not the case?
What I find is if something happens, usually you've got a husband and a wife, they're living life, they spend a ton of time together. When you remove one of them from that lifestyle, you're not going to have a mom, for example, a grandmother, who just decides, well, my spouse just died, I'm going to stay home by myself all the time. She's going to want to travel and see her kids or grandkids or surround herself with her loved ones. And so the idea of I'm going to need less money to accomplish that goal is just not realistic. What I find is you're going to need either as much and sometimes a little bit more when you lose a spouse. The problem is oftentimes when people lose a spouse, they lose half the income or a major portion of it as well.
Right.
So there's a lot of planning that needs to go into preventing that scenario from being negative on the family.
Right, because aren't you also losing someone's Social Security benefit?
Oftentimes, yeah. Depending on if they've got state benefits or if it's just Social Security, then yeah, there's a ratio that goes into effect where you're going to lose a major part of it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's also a lot of noise out there about Social Security. A lot of chatter, a lot of things in the news, a lot of stuff on the internet. What do you think about, the rumors or the chatter, if you will, of, that changing drastically or not being around?
I don't know that the word changing drastically, I mean, maybe. I don't think it's going to change substantially for the people who are receiving it now, other than you might not see the cost of living adjustments the way that we have seen them, because there's just not enough money there. I mean, the reality is, I think the major impact is going to be for people like myself. They're going to say, Jeff, look, you're 43 right now. You're not going to get Social Security when you turn 67. It's going to be 87. I mean, I think that might be the only way that they can prevent the Social Security Trust Fund from being exhausted.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to when Social Security started. I mean, when it started in the 30s, it was designed for people who made it to age 65. But life expectancies in the 30s was age 65. So they didn't expect very many people to use it.
Yeah.
Well, now you can still get it starting at age 62, but life expectancy is 85.
Or more.
So that's the reason. That's the dysfunctional calculation inside Social Security that's causing that trust fund to just hemorrhage money.
Yeah. So it could be a problem more for our generation, but not so much for today's retirees.
That's my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of important to not listen so much to the noise.
You got to be careful about that.
There's been noise forever.
It'll scare you into doing things that you probably shouldn't be doing and making drastic changes where, I don't know, there's a lot of scary stuff out there that it's just noise.
Yeah, well, I think the bottom line is, when thinking about any of these things, when thinking about making any decisions when it comes to your retirement plan, just come in and sit and talk to a professional. Really, there's no fear then. You're learning, you're being educated. That's really all it takes.
Yeah.
Well, this is the perfect time to go ahead and go to break. Why don't you remind the viewers of that special offer you have for them?
Well, special for you guys. If you call in, the first 10 people who call in and set up a time to come in and see us, you're going to receive a complimentary MyFit portfolio review, where we're going to dive very deep into what you have and show you here's exactly what you're paying in fees, externally and internally. Here's exactly what your long-term expected rate of return is, and here's how much risk you're taking to get that return. And if there's anything that we can do to put you in a better position, we're going to tell you what that is. We'll tell you any of the issues that we find where you can put yourself in a better place. And you can ask us to help you with that, or you can do it yourself. But first you have to call us at 844-234-3939, set up a time and come in and see us.
Thank you, Jeff. And to the viewers at home, again, the phone lines are open. Please do give us a call. All it takes is a phone call today. You have an opportunity to meet with Jeff and his team for no obligation. It's totally complimentary, so there's just no reason not to call today. That number is on your screen. Again, it's 844-234-3939. 844-234-3939. We're going to take a very short break, but we're going to get to some viewer question and some more myths about retirement when we get back. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to My Fit Money. Again, I'm your host, Randy Major, and I'm chatting today with Jeff Mathies. He's founder and CEO of Mathies, sorry, I mispronounced your name there, Mathies Financial Partners. Jeff, we're debunking some financial planning myths, and I have a really common one I hear a lot. This 4% rule. What is this 4% rule, and is it applicable?
Okay, so we have to go back in time a little bit here. This 4% rule was done, there was a study done years ago by Trinity University where they said, okay, if we take, doesn't matter how much money, and we go back in time, at what point can we start pulling income out of this and how much if we started it at the worst possible time in history to ever start taking income out. Okay. So they just started going through these periods of time, trying to find out, if I started it here, how long will it last? If I started it here. And they winded the numbers down, and the magic spot for them was if we take money at 4%, then we're never going to run out of money regardless of when we start it. And I know a lot of people still use that. I mean, it is the rule of thumb for the industry, but I honestly hate that rule. And the reason I dislike that rule so much is you think about what 4% actually relates to. If you have somebody who has, if they need an income of $80,000 a year when they retire, do you know how much money it takes at 4% to pull that type of income? $2 million. Oh. That's what they have to have, $2 million. So I prefer, when we go through the MyFit process with people, we try to work that in reverse when we build the plan out. And what we're trying to figure out is, rather than saying, well, we're going to take these investments, we're going to stick them in the market, and we're just going to start pulling money out, I want to know how much money can I put somewhere where I can get it regardless of what happens in the news, regardless of what happens with market corrections, and I want a much higher cash flow on deposit than 4%. And you can obtain that. The problem is, if you put it in the market pulling 4% and the market crashes, well, you're still pulling money out. It might be a substantially higher percentage because the market has gone down. Now you're compounding what's coming out of it as far as loss because you're pulling income from it. So the 4% rule, it's been around for a long time. I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, it is the rule of thumb, but...
Well, times change. Things change. Yeah. Rules of thumbs change. Right?
Rules of thumb needs to change here.
Let's take a viewer question. Are you game?
I'm game.
All right. So 𝗀𝗃𝗃 in Pueblo wants to know, next year I am required to take required minimum distributions, RMDs, from an IRA, 401A, and 457 plans. I don't need the money and I don't want to deal with the tax obligations, so should I consider a Roth IRA?
Okay, a little bit to unpack there. So before I answer the question, I want to remind Skip that you have 3 different types of retirement accounts with the 401k, 401A. Did you say 457?
Yes.
Okay, so just make sure that if you have to take an RMD, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll say, well, I have $1 million between those 3 things. I'm just going to take my RMD out of one of them. It doesn't work that way. If you have a whole bunch of different IRAs, that's fine. But if there's 3 different tax qualifications like that, you have to take your RMD out of every single one of them, or you will be subject to that 50% penalty.
That's
so
a lot.
You can't just wind it up and take it all out of one.
Okay.
Should you consider a Roth? I would say absolutely. Right now is the prime time to try to get money out of fully qualified, fully taxable money and put that into a position where you don't have to pay those taxes in the future.
Yeah.
Right now is the time to do that. You've got about 5 years before it gets really tough to accomplish that.
Okay, well, thank you for that answer. We have one more from Anne Marie, and she said, I want to take my Social Security at 62, but I do plan on continuing to work. Will my Social Security be taxed?
That's a dangerous area to be in. Here's why. If you're going to pull your Social Security at 62, they're only going to allow you to earn a certain amount of income before they actually start reducing benefits. And they do that right up until you hit your full retirement age. So I think it's a tough question because you need to know what that limit is. And there's some questions that have to be asked about how much money are you going to make? There's a lot that goes into that. Is your Social Security going to be taxed? There are way more important questions to figure out before you get to that point. And mainly it's going to be the penalties. You have to make a certain amount of money before your Social Security gets taxed, but the issue there to me sounds like she wants to retire, pull the income, and continue to work, and you may only be able to work a couple of months a year before you go over that very small amount and they start penalizing you.
Okay, so I think these are both just perfect examples of why it is so important to just schedule that meeting. Come in and work through your questions. Come in, bring Jeff your questions, because the knowledge you're going to gain from him is not what you're going to get from, a neighbor that might know something about the business, or, a family member that maybe, is interested this on the side. This is your life's work. I mean, you have to get these questions asked, and you have the opportunity to do that today. Completely complimentary. Jeff, let's tell the viewers about the offer.
You bet. So the first 10 people who call in, we are going to give you a complimentary MyFit portfolio review. And what that looks like for you is spending a little bit of time with us, and we're going to dive deep into the portfolio design you have now, and we're going to look and extract exactly what you're paying in fees, what your long-term expected rate of return is, and how much risk you're taking to get that return. Now, the reason those things are important is when you talk about retirement planning, you need to know how much money, if I could save a little bit of money when it comes to fee or make a little more money on return, that could equate to millions of dollars for you in retirement. But you first have to call us at 844-234-3939, get on the calendar, and let's spend some time together and talk through it.
All right, Jeff, I have to thank you so much for being on the show today. To the viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us. We really hope you gained something out of the show. Don't forget to call the number on your screen right now, 844-234-3939. Thanks again for watching.